Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am going to discuss John Keats as a romantic poet. In order to discuss John Keats as a romantic poet, it is necessary to define romanticism. Romanticism was an artistic, literary, musical, and intellectual movement that originated in Europe towards the end of the 18th century. In English literature, it started with the poets William Blake, William Wordsworth, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The most notable characteristics of Romanticism are the addition of strangeness to beauty, return towards nature, love for the past, quest for beauty, escapism, and the use of supernatural elements. John Keats is regarded as a great romantic poet because in his poetry we can see all the elements of romanticism. These romantic elements are as under. Number first, love for the past. Love for the past is the most important element in romantic poetry. This element of romanticism can be found in Keats' poetry. He was in love with Greek culture, art, and sculptures. His love for Greek is highly appreciated by all the poets of his time. His poem, Ode to Grecian Urn, is a good example of his love for the past or Greek sculpture. It should be noted that he loved not only Greeks but also people of medieval period were matter of interest for him. Number second, love of nature. Love of nature is another important characteristics of romanticism that we find in Keats' poetry. He loves each element of nature and convert natural objects into beauty. Nature was one of the greatest source of inspiration for him. By his magic hand, he turned the natural objects into poetic images. His love for nature is purely sensuous, and he loves the beautiful sides of nature for their own sake. He studies nature, loves nature, and stays close to it. In his poem, Hyperion, there is a description of natural objects. For example, he describes the cool wind in a very beautiful way. Similarly, in his another poem, Ode to Nightingale, in which he enjoys the sweet song of nightingale and considers it eternal peace. For him, the beauty of nature is everlasting. As he says, "Thou art not born for death, immortal bird." Number third, worshipper of beauty. Keats is worshipper of beauty, which is another characteristics of romanticism. Every poet in one way or the other is the lover of beauty. His concept is different from other romantic poets because he is of the opinion that everything that touches our five senses is beautiful. He finds beauty in the song of nightingale, in truth, and even in Grecian urn. In his poems, his approach is extraordinary. He talks about universal beauty. For him, autumn season is beautiful, song of nightingale is joyful, and Greek art gives him great pleasure. Sometimes, in his love for beauty, he goes beyond human senses. For example, he says, "Heard melodies are sweet, but unheard melodies are sweeter." In his another poem, Ode to Nightingale, through his imagination, he passes beyond the world of senses into the world of beauty. He says, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." Then he goes further in his love of beauty and says, "The first in beauty shall be the first in might." Number 4, escapism. Escapism is another important element of romantic poetry that we find in Keats' poetry. There are numerous references in his poems in which he flies to the ideal world of happiness and beauty through his viewless wings of poesy. For some time, he forgets the harsh realities of life and enjoys the world of beauty and imagination. For example, in his poem Ode to Nightingale, he wants to fade far away and quite forget the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Sometime, in search of beauty, he creates an imaginative world and enjoys its beauty. For example, in his beautiful poem Ode to Grecian Urn, he escapes to the imaginative world of beauty that he has created. Number 5, romantic themes. John Keats is a romantic poet because his themes are romantic. Most of his poetry revolves around the quest of beauty, love, chivalry, adventures, nature, past life, and pathos. In his poetry, he does not propagate any political or religious message. He writes poetry for the sake of poetry. Apart from it, he has used many supernatural elements in his poem, so he is romantic because his themes are romantic. Number 6, supernatural elements. Another important element in romantic poetry is the use of supernatural elements. The use of supernatural elements is also there in Keats' poetry. For example, in his poem La Belle Dame Sans Merci, he has condensed a whole world of supernatural mystery. For example, when he says that the knight at arms is entrapped by the beautiful fairy child Femme Fatale. Number 7, addition of strangeness to beauty. It is another characteristic of romantic poetry which is present in Keats' poetry. Keats has really added strangeness to simple beauty. For example, when he says, "Beauty is truth beauty, that is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. The first in beauty shall be the first in might." Such expressions add strangeness to beauty. So, to conclude, we can say that John Keats is a great romantic poet because in his poetry we can see all the romantic elements which are necessary for a romantic poet. So, it was all about the topic John Keats as a romantic poet. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.